Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Larry Bisig live on 4th Street, and I am here with a heck of a guest. This is J. Bruce Miller, a leader beyond reproach of our community who's done so much, and I was very excited to get Jay Bruce to come down and talk to us about Louisville, all things political, all things basketball. Thank you, Bruce, for coming down. We certainly appreciate it.
It's my honor to be here. I have great respect for you, and I'm honored that you asked me.
Thank you. Let's go back in time a little bit. Graduate of Vanderbilt University.
That's right.
And what year did you get out?
Well, I got undergraduate school was 62, and law school was in May of 65, 3 years later.
Wow.
So I had 7 years in Nashville.
Did you come back directly to Louisville?
Yes, I came back, and I came back for a reason, and that was my dad was he ran the trust department at Citizens Fidelity Bank, and he was going to retire from the bank, and we were going to start a little law firm. And so I came back for that reason and turned down a bunch of job opportunities to come back, and that turned out to be a shock because 6 months later my dad died, and I was in November of that year, 65. And I was kind of in a mess because I had turned down job offers all over the place. One of them was with a law firm in New York, and the irony of that was that life has a lot of ironies in it when you really look back at it. The irony was that I would have known David Stern right out of law school.
David Stern, the commissioner of the National Basketball League.
Commissioner, he's not current now. He's passed away several years ago, but he was a very close friend of mine as a result of the ABA and NBA merger and all of that. And I represented a lot of professional basketball players in those days.
Let's fast forward a little bit. You get to Jefferson County and you find yourself in politics. Walk with me a little bit about the political warfare that you were in. Mike Conliff was part of that group. Mr. Hollenbach was part of that group. And you all were Democrats, and you all were ready to eat red meat.
Well, it was the Republicans had been in control of local government during the whole '60s, and they did a good job. But Gallagher and whoever they all were, but Todd Hollenbach, who I had known, he went to Notre Dame. He was 1 year ahead of me. He was active in politics, and we had a group together. We put a group of young lawyers together called. We named ourselves. I've forgotten what the name was, but we decided we were going to run for office against
Conliff, Miller,
Todd Hollenbach, Boyce Martin, who was a very intelligent. He was an assistant prosecutor out in federal court, and he was 1 year ahead of me. And we decided we had a little political group of about 15 or 20 of us, and we decided we were going to run for office. And Todd decided to run for county judge, and I ran for county attorney at the age of 6. I was 28 when I announced, and 29 when I won. My birthday's in October, and that was kind of we campaigned 24 hours a day. I mean, we just went all over town, knocking on doors in areas that normally had been, you would think were Democratic, but they had turned Republican, and South Louisville and Shively and Pleasure Ridge Park and all that area. We hit every house. We hit every house out there, and they decided and said the place needs some young people and young ideas, and we need to get going and all that kind of stuff, and it worked. And so I was 29. I just turned 20. Had just turned 29, and my birthday's in October, and I was in January of 1970. I was inaugurated with my hand up on the Bible as the county attorney of Jefferson County.
Oh, yeah.
And the first question was, now what the hell do I do? And the answer to the problem was find 8 or 10 of the smartest people you can find, and you listen. Everybody, it's like Mr. White suggested to me, they all have law degrees. They might not have gone to Harvard or Vanderbilt, but they all got law degrees, so they got the same degree you got, and they've got the same education you've got. So put 10 or 12 people, the guys together, and I didn't have any women. There weren't any young women lawyers at that time in the mid 1960s or late 1960s. And off we went. And we made some mistakes, and we did some really good stuff. And Todd, I ran for 4 terms, and my last term was in 1981. Mitch McConnell ran for was the county judge, and he ran for re-election. He had beaten Todd in '77, and McConnell and I got along pretty well. He was a different party, but I was more interested in Louisville than I was being some kind of rabid Democrat. So but I didn't run anymore. In 1986, I was representing a lot of professional athletes at that point, and and at that time, the county attorney was allowed to have a private law practice, provided he or she you couldn't sue the city or county, but you couldn't take a criminal case. So I wound up representing a lot of professional athletes simply because I had represented Issel, and his next door neighbor is a kid, Ken Anderson, at the Bengals. And so I wound up having quite a specialty that I maintained all through the 90s and into the 2000s of representing professional athletes around the country.
Interesting. Now,
basketball and football. I never had a soccer player.
Well, let me fast forward to something I never figured out. Approximately 10 years ago, I turned on there was a lot of buzz about Louisville getting a professional basketball team. It was in the paper, it was in the news, you couldn't miss it. And you were at the forefront of every single one of those articles. And what I didn't understand was it looked like it was gonna happen. And what really surprised me was I turned on the news one day, and there was a large celebration at Yum headquarters. Now this is over on Newburgh Road. And I turned that on, not knowing all the details, and I said, well, hell, Jay Bruce did it. They must have cut a deal. And I remember the owner being there. I remember confetti. I remember a couple of dinners at Vincenzo's where Junior Bridgman was attending. And I thought to myself, well, heck, if we've got Junior's muscle behind this, and we've got J. Bruce Miller, then this thing's going to happen. Then all of a sudden, it blew to hell.
There isn't any one single thing. We had worked with David Novak, who was the head of the CEO of KFC at the time, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and David's a very talented, forward-thinking individual, and still is. He's retired, but still is. We had an owner, but I had known David Stern at that point for 15 or 20 years. David was the lawyer for the NBA teams that went, and I was the lawyer for the ABA teams, the 4 teams that went into when the merger occurred. Kentucky Colonels was not one of the teams that went in, and because there was a question in everybody's mind as to whether or not Louisville would. We didn't have the Yum Center. We had Freedom Hall that had to be redone. We had, and the owner was, the potential owner was willing to do that. And the concept was you would dig out the floor. You wouldn't do anything with the bathrooms were fine and the suites were fine, but if you dug out the floor and made it a simple basketball-related arena, maybe, and some concerts, and you wouldn't play ice hockey in there. You would dig out the floor and go down and make suites all around the edge of the floor. It was a pretty good concept of upgrading what was at that time. I think Freedom Hall was built in the late 50s. I mean, it had it wouldn't. We had to have, and we didn't have time to do a new arena and get it done, so we had to at least update Freedom Hall. And there were people that were willing to do that. And David Stern was very interested in Louisville because he thought that it would be a natural, because of the concern or the interest that basketball carried in Louisville. Junior Bridgman being one of them. There are multiple. Right now there are, I understand, there are 21 or 22 former Kentucky UK players, U of L players, and Moorhead or Murray players that are players in the NBA right now. And that was to a large extent true even back in those days. And you had Frank Ramsey around, and Frank had been a former Celtic, and there was a lot of connectivity that David didn't have in the others, particularly in the other cities like Charlotte and New Orleans. And
what happened?
Well, I think what happened.
Give it to me straight.
I think what happened is Louisville. The best example I can give you of what happened was what's happened relatively recently. In the last 6 or 8 months, I tried to get a hold of Elon Musk, and he had moved out of California to Austin, but his general counsel was available still in California because he had family in in Stanford. Kids, and he didn't want to move, and so I got him to get a hold of Musk, and to give Musk some ideas. This was before Musk got involved with Trump, and I wanted to see if there would be an interest level. Here's a guy that could had enough money to buy the league.
How long ago was this?
This was before the Trump thing started. It was several years ago, and Musk and so the general counsel got a hold of him, and then I'll make a long story short. And then he sent me what Musk had done, and I still have the original of it. Musk had taken a 1950 census, and Louisville was larger in 1950 than Nashville, Miami, San Diego, Phoenix, Austin, Texas. Anybody can Google it. You can see the 1950 census, and Musk had written on there, and I won't use the word. Musk had written on there, "What the F happened to Louisville?" Because now Miami's 5 times bigger than Louisville. Memphis is bigger, on and on and on. Nashville,
Charlotte is bigger than us. Nashville is bigger than us.
Twice as the size. And we had Kentucky Fried Chicken.
What did happen to Louisville?
A failure to realize the importance of things beyond the week-long celebration for the Kentucky Derby. Nobody went out and got any major corporations to move here, and corporations were moving all over the country. Wells Fargo took the whole kit and caboodle and moved to Charlotte, on and on and on. And Louisville sat around. If I wrote another book, it would be entitled "While Louisville Slept." Louisville was asleep.
Was Wendell Cherry or David Jones, did they put their hands in this at all?
I tried to talk Wendell into running for mayor in the early 90s, and he went out and had a health thing and came back to the Pritikin Clinic and came back with cancer. And he died of he smoked a lot of cigarettes. And so Wendell this was way past, if Wendell had been alive or David Sr. had been around, and this was all, he was retired by that point, and of course he's now deceased. And David Grissom, he's one of the 3 or 4 that were left. David's still here. And I know David, and you, David, his brother, younger brother, was a classmate of mine at Atherton. So, but the interest level in the business community in Louisville was abysmal. And we, with the exception of David Novak, and of course, David was no longer, in this last effort, no longer available because he had retired from KFC.
Let me interrupt you. So we have a Humana collapse.
Yes.
Correct?
Right.
And we have
Papa John collapse.
Papa John collapse.
And not only collapse, just leave town. And
we have a Yum collapse.
Yes.
And where are we going? It takes me back to what you said earlier. Youth, enthusiasm, let's get going and let's get some energy and some wheels behind this machine and start pushing. And it feels like all the gas has run out of the Louisville wagon. And this is my concern for my hometown, is we are dying. And it was, I'm not trying to patronize you, but it was folks like you, it was folks like Todd Hollenbach, it was folks like Mike Conliff, it was folks like, you name it, who were not willing to stand for second best and push that lever so that it would go. You also had some underlings that were on your staff. I'm thinking of Jeff Noble.
Right.
He was a player.
Right.
Is a player. I'm concerned.
Well,
and I don't know where we're going from here.
Well, I agree with you, and I'm not sure it's when you have a multi-billionaire who is interested in it, even to the extent right now. I think his interest level has dropped, but his attitude, or his, not attitude is the wrong descriptive word, his belief is that Louisville is an overgrown bowling green. And he used those phrases.
This is your Florida contact?
Yes. He used that phrase one time privately with me. Your problem is you're an overgrown little city, and you don't think, people don't think of the like Wendell Cherry and David Jones and Papa John and others. You don't think you do great things with the Derby, but you don't think beyond that. The importance of bringing corporate headquarters to a city. You've got a lot to, and people, we've got all kinds of things to offer, but Louisville seems to be willing to be satisfied, and we blame it on Frankfurt, and we blame it on Lexington, and that we look for somebody or a state legislature to blame and say, well, the state, the basketball, U of L, UK hates U of L. Well, that's U of L helps UK because it allows people like David Stern to think, and he did, when he, God rest his soul, that the interest in the sport is huge here. So, I mean, we have an advantage, but we don't, because we doubt our ability to, as a community, to do these kind of things. We don't make the right kind of effort, and the thought that Oklahoma City, which is a football state, has an NBA team is beyond comprehension. New Orleans, I'm very familiar with New Orleans because I knew they tried to develop interest down there in the NBA, even brought Pete Maravich back to LSU, to Louisiana. He left, I didn't represent him, but he left the Atlanta Hawks and went to the New Orleans team in the hopes of being able to create the interest, because the Maravich was probably the greatest player that ever played at LSU. They think differently than we do, and we're satisfied. There's a lot of self-satisfaction here, but the self-satisfaction doesn't. And as I think I've told you before, if I was ever going to write another book, the title would be "While Louisville Slept," because I think we know our advantages, but we don't take advantage of our advantages. And I think I'm not blaming any particular person. I think it's a general community attitude that doesn't exist in Nashville. You hear people gripe about the traffic in Louisville. Well, if you think traffic's bad, drive down to Nashville. Try to get through Broadway in Nashville. But it's a city that's exploded. It's two and a half times the metropolitan area. They merged the city and county. And my senior year, or junior and senior year in law school, a group of us were involved with writing a plan that Nashville and Davidson County could merge. And of course, it helped because the capital was in Nashville. And so we use that as an excuse. Well, the capital's not here, it's in Frankfurt. Well, the capital is Dallas has grown and the capital's in Austin. Yeah. You know, you make excuses for your failure to perform.
Let's talk
And
about
we do that here.
Let's talk about our existing leadership. Who are you? What are you impressed with, and what are you not impressed with in terms of current office holders and their ability to create Big Mo for Louisville?
Well, I think that the present office holders are, and previous ones have all been nice folks and nice people. They express concern, and if you want to open up a barber shop on Bardstown Road, and you want to have a celebration, they'll all go. But the city has got to decide it wants to develop itself, and the only way you develop it is bring corporate headquarters into a city. It's now there's a vacancy in Seattle, and when the league expands, there is no question about the fact there will be a team in Seattle. There is no question. There is a potential that the Portland Trailblazers may leave because the owner of the Trailblazers, whose name escapes me, has passed, and he had a lot of money, and the estate, I'm not sure, is going to put the money back in. And so the Trailblazers, there's a potential possibility the Trailblazers might be looking for a new in Portland. Now there'll be a battle to prevent it, and the city has already passed some ordinances or something out there to try to preserve the Portland Trailblazers. They're going to fix up the moda, do something to try to encourage it to stay. We've been able, and I hate to be critical of the city, and I'm not saying criticism sometimes is valuable, and in this instance, I think it would be valuable if we realize how many cities have passed us by in terms of importance. Now, one week a year, we do a heck of a job with the Derby. I mean, we do a wonderful job broadcasting the value of Louisville and all that. But when Monday after Derby comes, it's over with, and Louisville needs to decide. It needs to find leaders who are going to go out and instead of having nice cocktail parties and talking to each other about how great we are, we need to go out and bring some stuff in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it straight from the man, J. Bruce Miller, attorney at law, native of Louisville. Thank you, J. Bruce.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure.
We'll be back with another guest on Larry Bisig Live on 4th Street next week. Tune in.